like no. Gotta get the wiggies cause I'm off to the hole in the road. I'm walking off school and I'm off to the city, watching telly all night. And I'm not looking pretty, see I got this job downtown, selling knocked off ladies watches for £1. For a really dodgy man that I met in a dodgy cafe. You know he said to me, the girl who sold these yesterday isn't selling very carefully. Police came along and took her and all my watches away. So if you see some coppers, you grab my stuff and leg it, boy, right away. I'll be in the cafe. Boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. So it's been a few hours and I haven't sold enough for my bus fare. Street seller's pretty tough, so I turn on the top for the lunchtime rush. When I smile and I wiggle on my schoolboy touch. Well, the charm is working in the underground. I'm proud of men and women gather round. The watches they are going, the money is a flowing. Think I'll a little extra, stick it in my pocket, spend it later. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I've sold a watch for an hour and I'm dying for a slash. I've had enough of this, so I'm off for a piss. Then a quick walk back round to the cafe. Sitting at his table, drinking tea. Looks at me suspiciously. Then with a glance at the watch, he says, how did you do? He paid me a couple of quid. Then he said, would you like to come and work another day? I said I'd come back down on Friday. And to that he said, okay. So with £2 in my pocket and another 5 in my shoe, I nipped down to Castle Market where a man who looks like Leo said he's selling pots with cocktails and prawns. Just make me feel like dancing. Then off back to dinner on the wiggies and then home. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. Hello, this is Heath Dweft, and I listen to Raconteurs News.
And good evening, welcome to Raconteurs News on this Monday night. It's the 11th of February, very close to Valentine's Day. I can feel the love emanating everywhere from all the places from behind me, in particular. You know, I hope you have a good Valentine's Day, and I hope all your dreams come true. It's just me tonight. It's not just me, I've got a guest as well. But it is just me presenting tonight. Unfortunately, Webby has had a family bereavement, so he won't be joining us this week. So very understandable. He's taken a few days off, and he's trying to come to terms with the bereavement that him and his family have suffered. So all the best to you, Webby. I hope you're feeling. I hope you're feeling okay. I hope you're feeling a load better very, very soon, and everybody here at Raconteurs News And of course, I know that all the listeners as well will send their very best to you as well. So we look forward to you coming back, Webby, and we're really sorry for your loss. Anyway, listen, I've had a bit of flack about this show. I've had a little bit of flack about this show. Now, last week, I invited Joe Public and Anne-Marie Carey onto the show, and when Anne-Marie Carey, when Anne-Marie Carey saw something that had been wrote, an article that had been written about Joe Public, she then wanted to distance herself from him, which is it's up to her, you know. It's completely up to her whether she does that or not. But I didn't think that there was any reason. I deleted the show. I've not deleted it. It's what it is. It's private, so it's in a private thing, so nobody can view it now. Sorry about my wife's tits walking past there, and giraffe legs as well. But you know, I've removed that show from viewing at the moment. There was a lot of virtue signalling, as far as I can see it, that was going along. I read the same articles that she was referring to, and I found them not to be conclusive. I found them to be I wasn't comfortable with deleting somebody's input on my show who when somebody put to me that, you know, that this was a bad guy, that it wasn't, it was nothing for me anyway. For me, I know everybody's different, and I even had up till about 15 minutes before coming on the show tonight, I had people emailing me and messaging me and saying, read this, read this, read this, read this. I'm sick of that shit, right? As far as I'm concerned, last week we had a really, really good show. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the show at all. And for somebody to want to distance themselves from it, for me, smacks of virtue signalling. It also smacks of a prejudice, and it also smacks to me of the mob mentality that we seem to get on the internet, particularly on Facebook and on other platforms as well. But we get this mob mentality where people will try to stop you from talking to somebody simply because they provide some spurious evidence, some evidence, however spurious, and basically what I was sent was somebody's opinion. So I don't do this show, right? I don't do this show because I want to be a personality. I don't want to be a celebrity. If it got to too much, I'd stop doing this show. I'd just stop doing it, because I feel that everybody should have a voice, and no matter what somebody's been accused of, then that they should have that voice and be able to be able to come onto platforms like this. We're supposed to be the alternative to the mainstream media. We're supposed to be independent, and we're supposed to be independent and be free thinkers. And that's the thing that's really bugged me about this last week. So what I've decided to do, and whether this is the end of Raconteurs news, I don't care, to be fair, because I want to stay true to what my philosophy is. I want to stay true to how I think things should be. I've been accused of things that I've not done in the past. I've been rolled over the coals. I've been dragged over the coals. I've done all sorts of different things, and I didn't want this show to be like that, and I really hope that people understand that. So I'm going to introduce my guest tonight. I'm going to bring him back on. He was on last week. I didn't think it was fair because he brought up some pertinent points, some very good information last week, and that's now been lost on due to somebody virtue signalling regarding that sort of thing. So I'm going to bring him back on. Joe, how you doing, mate? Joe Public, how you doing, pal?
Thank you very much, Jason. And thank you very much for being level-minded enough to look at this from all different angles. I'm really well. I've got no issues. I'm not downbeat. In fact, myself and my supporters and people that follow my page have seen this 4 or 5 times. So it's not a big deal. Honestly, it's not. And the beauty of it is, as I said to you, what I'd like to do is pick your brains about bad jacketing. It's a term that every member of the public and everyone involved in any kind of movement should be aware of. Now, bad jacketing is the practice of creating suspicion through the spread of rumours and manufacture of evidence. There was that word you used earlier, evidence. Not substantiated, but it's just somebody's perspective that's gone down on the internet and has been expanded upon. And in fact, the initial furore was caused over something that supposedly happened in 2010. You know, since that time, it's been like Chinese whispers. Every time I bring up, as you said, something pertinent or someone that we should be focusing our attention on, out of the woodwork comes all this bollocks. And it is bollocks. And the beauty of it is, you know, if any of this were actually true, I'd have been in jail by now. You know, if it isn't like the government trying to lock me up for spurious allegations at Occupy and then trying to lock me up for publishing the names of witnesses, do you not think that they would be all over this if it could be substantiated? What we've got here is, or what we have, and I, as I say, myself, my followers, my friends, they all know about it, and they go, "Oh, not this again, Joe." And I'm like, look, let it run. You know, the reason being is this is the viewpoint of one person, his perspective of a time in 2010 that he put into a book, and then suddenly that book becomes real. It's the truth because it's in a book. And to be honest, the book sells for a penny on Amazon. So, you know, I'm not going to give the guy any...
What are you referring to? Which book?
I'm not going to give the guy any advertising whatsoever, because the second point I was going to make is with this specific individual, think about it. He's got a book all about this time, and now he's exposed that Malcolm Blackman is Joe Public, which has never been a secret from day one. He's now hoping that on the back of what he stirs up with his band of gang stalkers will sell more books. So he's trying to sell books off the back of me. But I'm not overly fussed about any of this, because what we have found when this story keeps coming up, regurgitating, it separates the wheat from the chaff. Now, as I said to you privately, and I'll say, and this will be my only word on it, I'll say publicly, for someone like Anne-Marie to swallow everything that she read as gospel truth, when she herself has been smeared and discredited and undermined for so long, should I believe everything that's written about her? Of course I don't. I do my research. This whole thing smacked of there was something in that broadcast that got a little bit too close to the truth for all concerned. Now, I don't know what it is, because we were just running impromptu. We were running off the cuff. But we said an awful lot, and a lot of brainstorming on. So I do think that there might have been something in that broadcast that prompted such a swift action to take it down. I don't think it was about me, because I've written about this spurious allegation many a time, and the first time it cropped up was in 2011. Got shot down then. Then it cropped up in 2013 with Brenda McNamara, and it got shot down again. Then it cropped up again with Bill Maloney. It got shot down again. Then it cropped up with John Wedger. Whenever I expose something that I think the public need to know, immediately they're chucking buckets of manure. But that to me just proves we're doing the right thing. What do you think?
Well, for me, coming from a really quite a bit of a selfish sort of background, from a selfish point of view, I think that I deleted a show that was a good show that had lots of great information in it. For me, that's I'd been sent the when Anne-Marie Carey decided that she was going to distance herself, and then she were messaging me and saying, "Can I have that show deleted? I don't want to be associated." It made me wonder, because there was nothing in the show itself that would have put her in a different light. It was basically the platform that she was on, you were sharing, and she then read, and believe me, I read it afterwards, and on one of her posts I said that I wouldn't have entertained you, right? I'll be honest. I said I wouldn't have entertained you, and you asked me about that, and I said, well, I would have looked at things beforehand. I would have looked at it beforehand, and then, you know, I perhaps would have delayed the show, looked at it beforehand. He's a right wanker. He's just like cats are outside, and he's just having a go. I think I've got my jumper on inside out and all. But anyway, I said I would have looked at it, and then we would have. But afterwards, after I'd looked at the link and the information that I've been sent, that I would have done the show, because for me there was nothing there. Everything that was there was opinion. It was all stuff that could have been manipulated in any sort of way, and you know, I just thought I was just pissed off that I'd have to delete a good show.
Well, yeah, it does happen. You know, I mean, under the circumstances, the show definitely I would have rated in the top tier, because it was spontaneous and none of us had done any scripting. We really were just brainstorming, and let's face it, the subject was Mark Steele initially. I mean, I know we got on to Brexit at the end, but my point is that, like, when I approached you before the show, I did say, and this is why I think that everyone knows all this about me. I walk around thinking everyone knows this, because it's no secret. Everyone goes on about it. And I think I said to you, there have been a few occasions where I do after dinner speaking. Now, it's not like I'm at the Freemasons or the Buffaloes or anything like that. But when I go to visit people, or people on my Facebook friend list that I would like to further my friendship with, I go and stay with them for a couple of days. And one of the questions that does come up quite often is the question of this super troll nonsense back in 2010. And
tell us about that. How did that even come to light? How did that even happen?
When I first got involved with the internet, I had a problem with being bullied at school, and I started up an anti-bullying page. And it's like anything I touch on Facebook, for some reason it just takes off. Now, this was back in 2010, when there was no control over the internet, and like I think they said at the time, it was like the wild, wild west. Facebook's reporting facilities, Facebook's reporting procedures, Facebook's whole mechanism was literally rife to allow ants that wanted to piss on your parade to just come over your pages. Now, the word trolling has only really come into being in the last 10 years. And a good example of mislabeling trolls would be, what's the lass's name that's been involved with the Hampstead stuff? Sabine McNeill, just been locked up, right? Although it says, I think it was about 9 years, when you look at the way that the courts have sentenced is, they all run concurrently. So she'll be out in a year. So all this headline news, Britain's worst troll, yeah? So they used the word that she was a troll, when in fact what she was doing was trying to highlight what she firmly believed was satanic ritual abuse. Another good example of an internet troll, Chris Spivey, because of his thoughts and his views on the Lee Rigby killing, he ended up going to court as the world's worst internet troll. like, because he denied that Lee Rigby had been killed in the manner that he'd been killed.
Yeah, we've had Chris Spivey on a couple of times on Raconteurs News. So, yeah, we're fully versed with Chris Spivey. Yeah, exactly. Another example. Go on, you carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, bad jacketing. The thing is, the establishment can use the word troll whenever they want. Yeah, but back in 2010, I was working towards an anti-bullying group, and it got pretty big. Back in them days, 5,000 people in a group. People studied you with envious eyes. They wanted your group. They wanted to get it away from you. But of course, what they didn't realise was that our interest in an anti-bullying group also spread over what we used to call RIP tribute pages. And back in 2010, a lot of people that died in sort of like circumstances, for some reason, their families insisted on putting up tribute pages. You know, I can name people that committed suicide under trains or hung themselves in schools. And people would put up tribute pages, and that would attract a real horrible part of the community that would come out and exploit that. And I explained,
wankers. I understand. Yeah, horrible bunch of wankers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But the thing was, the reporting procedures on Facebook were archaic in them days. It took weeks for a comment to be reviewed and removed. So what I saw was these pre-planned and very well organised attacks on RIP tribute pages. And as a side to what I was doing, I decided to get in touch with these people and ask them straight, you know, because I'm a straight, well, I was even a straight sort of guy 10 years ago. What exactly are you doing? What do you get out of this? Why would you even do this? And the answers came because when I went to Occupy London, Panorama came to film me and interview me about that experience. In other words, whilst I was researching all these, what we used to call RIP trolls, Panorama got wind of it, and how they got wind of it, I don't know. It might have been the trolls saying, would you go and talk to this guy because we're not prepared to talk to you, or it might have been the guy over there that was offering up the victim of the day. The victim at the end, his name was Nimrod 7, Darren Burton. I remember him well, and he lived in Wales, and he had made some horrible comments, you know, like, all right, admittedly, they were on dead kids' pages. It was like rotting piss, and they were very racist comments as well. So, I mean, they caught Darren Burton and they ambushed him at the end of the video. He was the target of the video, but I was on primarily as a talking head to explain my involvement and why I was even in communication with these people. Now, I went to White City, which is where they filmed the BBC, and I was there for 8 hours recording, and they used 2 minutes. So everything really that I said was a waste of time. It's on the cutting room floor of Panorama. But the 2 minutes that they got was me saying that it was thoroughly ruthless on the internet, and the vehicle used to slaughter Jesse Slaughter was really a vehicle for the whole world to get on. It wasn't just internet trolls. One of the things about the Jesse Slaughter thing is people often forget that the age for using the internet is 13 upwards. Jesse Slaughter was 11. She shouldn't have been on there in the first place. And when you watch the video footage of Jesse Slaughter really acting up to the cameras on the internet, you can understand why the age is 13. In fact, I think it should be a lot higher. I think you should be looking at.
Actually, that's impossible to police, though, isn't it? I mean, you can't. Kids under 13 have been on Facebook for time immemorial. I mean, they you know, on different websites. I mean, there's no legal age for the internet. I mean, tell us about the Jesse Slaughter incident, because I'm unfamiliar with it.
Well, there's a video on my YouTube channel which went up in 2013, along with a couple of the others, which actually shows the 10-minute segment where I'm involved with the Jessie Slaughter thing. Now, Jessie Slaughter was a very gregarious and very loud-mouthed young lady who was
a child. She's 11 years old. She's a child.
And she shouldn't have been on the internet. You know, she shouldn't have been. When you're a child and you're 11 years old and you say, I'll pop a Glock in your mouth and make a brain slushy, you're going to upset the internet. The internet's a thing on its own. I mean, in the old days, it used to say that there is none as cruel as all of us, and that the internet is like a very dark place. If you piss off the internet, it can make your life a misery. I mean, pizza deliveries to your house all night long. Once in the old days, they used to dox you, and some MP just got done on Twitter for doxing someone. So I'm beginning to wonder when doxing will be a crime, because doxing is basically giving up the address and the home specifications of where someone lives, even down to how many pints of milk they get delivered. You know, and an internet troublemaker, say, can make a lot of that. You know, they can send untold pizza deliveries, which I think they did with Jessie Slaughter. Jessie Slaughter was really one of the first of the troll victims to really get hammered, to the point where when she went back on the internet, she was in tears, saying that they'd ruined her life. And it just goes to show that I don't think 11 is the age to cope with social networking. You shouldn't be social networking at 11. You should just barely be getting down from the table and doing the washing up. You know, so my attitude was maybe she was in a bit too young, but it became.
But that's I understand what you're saying, right? That she shouldn't have been on the internet. She's 11 years old, and I understand, because I didn't let my daughter go on the internet at 11 years old. In fact, at 11 years old, there were no ways she would go on the internet. However, for something to happen to her that there is no excuse that she was too young, because when we're talking about an extension of society, and when we're a society, really, if we saw a kid that were out in the street that needed help, we'd all help them. I hope we'd all help them, rather than. I don't know what went on with Jessie Slaughter. You seem to have gone off on a different tangent to the story that happened with Jessie Slaughter. So, you know, I just don't think that. I know that 11, yes, it's too young, and perhaps there's some sort of blame to be apportioned for what happened to her, but I don't know what happened. Let me
put it like this. When Jessie Slaughter first went on the internet, on YouTube, with her own little YouTube channel, she was like, I'm more pretty than you, I've got more money than you, and I've got a better life than you, and if you don't like it, I'll pop a Glock in your mouth and make a brain slushy. Right? I don't care whether you're 11 years old. You are going to get a reaction from the internet, because that is just outlandish. More than that, I can't find the word to describe it. But what made it worse is when all this happened, her father then jumped in front of the internet with his big beard and his chino cut down shorts, saying, I've got the police on you, I'm gonna backtrace you, you've all done goof. I mean, it just set the whole internet off again. And there were memes coming out. The thing is, the internet it was back in 2010 a very cruel place.
It is now. It is now a cruel place.
No, it's sanitized now. You can't say shit without getting a 30-day ban instantly. Come on.
Why would you want to say shit? I mean, this is an 11-year-old girl, okay? I don't care whether she's. I really couldn't care less what she's saying. That's what 11-year-old kids do, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's why they have an age limit on using YouTube, Google, and the internet, and it's set at 13. And there's a reason for that, because that girl is a vulnerable child. If anyone is at fault, it's the family, because they should know that that child should not be interacting on a social network where there are very, very unsavory people, and they were completely oblivious to it until their daughter got hurt.
But
So
you're talking about something that happens everywhere. And what you're doing is I'm sorry, I just want to be really dead honest with you, like I have been the whole way through. But you know, you can't blame the girl just simply because she was too young, or the parents simply. I know the parents have got a certain amount of blame, not blame, but like, you know, perhaps a bit of leniency that's kicked him in the face. But you know, we're talking about adults, predators, who, and I'm not talking about predators in a sexual sense, but I'm talking about predators acting against a child. I mean, do you not see that there's something wrong with it?
Of course, in fact, one of the points you're missing is in my interview with Panorama, it's made clear that I am working against those things. But nobody bothers to mention that. According to everyone, I'm associating with his trolls. But it's made quite clear in the interview with Panorama. It says, Malcolm says he's out to work against this kind of trolling, but readily admits that he associates with these trolls. And that was associate online. And like I said to you in private, how do you expect to research and understand these people if you don't get in amongst them and have them talk to you so they trust that you're not going to break that trust? The old Bill do it all the time. How do you think the old Bill bring down criminal gangs? Well, they get one in there, didn't they? But it was all made very clear. You see, it's all very well the smearing side of this, but if you look at the video and you watch the interview, it becomes very clear that I'm unhappy with the way that Jessie Slaughter was treated, and I think that they were thoroughly ruthless. But I didn't raise the starting flag for them to go and do it, but I did organise it. I watched them, and the reason I wanted to talk about it is to go into how they organise these things on Skype. They didn't organise them on Facebook. They organised these attacks, and that's what they were. They organised these attacks on Skype. But to have to be party to all those conversations, I had to be party of the group. I had to understand where the venom was coming from at the time and who were the prolific offenders. So
just for everybody that's watching that doesn't know, and me as well, what a story. What became of her?
What, Jessie? I mean,
yeah, what happened to her? I don't know what happened to her.
She recovered in her own way. I mean, I believe she went on to start another YouTube channel, and I assume
okay.
Person. But do you know what? Nobody knows really what happened to Jessie Slaughter, because the internet done exactly what it said. It said, look, go away, come back another time without being so, what's the word for it? It's not in your face. It was
arrogance.
Yeah, 11-year-old arrogance. It's like saying, no, I'm not going to go to bed. You know, it was that kind of arrogance. So my attitude was that I didn't feel anything one way or the other for Jessie Slaughter, because she was one of hundreds. She was just lucky or unlucky, it depends on whichever way you look at it, to get the mainstream coverage. I could name 10 people that were abused in this way that shouldn't have been, but the internet, as I say, it was in them days a very cruel place. As I said in the interview with Panorama, the idea is to make you so enraged that you switch off your computer. To them, that's a win, and they see you as a loser. So, you know, things have changed now, thankfully. Tribute pages no longer are public, so nobody can go. If I were to die tomorrow, right, and someone created a tribute page for me, it wouldn't be publicly available. It'd only be available to people on my friend list and those that are invited. And I think they now do it where they say remembering. They just change it from your profile and they put remembering and everything goes black at the top. It's really quite morbid. But that whole incident really wasn't an issue. The issue was with the people that started the gang stalking and bad jacketing around that time, was that I'd had the audacity to go on to Panorama and talk about the subject. Bear in mind, I wasn't the target of any investigation. There's no evidence.
What was your motivation for that? Because, you know, if Panorama came to me, I'd just tell them to fuck off. They've already nicked some of my footage anyway and used it against the law. But, you know, what was your motivation for doing that?
Well, 10 years ago, Panorama wasn't such a bad deal, right? Panorama changed when they done the in-depth microscopic in-depth look into child sexual abuse. Chris Fay, Bill Maloney, all that. Well, that's when they brought in a hit team for Panorama. Up until then, Panorama had always been quite a good outlet for breaking things down. And it was about, originally, about anonymity on the internet. And so for me, being a subscriber to Anonymous UK and being at Occupy London at the time, because they came to Occupy London to ask us if we'd be involved in it, because it was to do with anonymity. It was only when I realised that they said, oh, yeah, no, we've got this thing about Jesse Slaughter. And I said, oh, I know a little bit about that. And it turns out that it wasn't even Jesse Slaughter that the Panorama was about. It was about some famous singer, like, I can't remember her name, but she was on, like, fucking X Factor or something and won it. It was like...
Was it on the same? Was it the same show? I think I saw reaching back into my mind. Wasn't Richard Bacon on that show as well? Because he'd been beaten up or something like that.
Yeah, but they didn't tell me that. They didn't tell me that Darren Burton was the target at the end. They didn't tell me that Richard Bacon was on it. They didn't tell me Sheryl Crow. That's it. They didn't tell me that Sheryl Crow was on it. They only told me about Jesse Slaughter when I turned around and said, oh, I know that name. And I said, oh, maybe give us a bit of info on it. And to be honest, I'm still rather proud of it, because if all of the 8 hours footage that was recorded that day had been broadcast, people would understand. But because only 2 catchy catchphrases were mentioned, people go, why did you do it? And the amount of times I've had to say to people, do you realise there's about 8 hours of cuttings on the floor going into why anonymity is so important in third world countries? And if you're a political dissident in another country, they will have you out the back of the gas sheds in the morning if you use your own name. Also, loads of stuff that they just didn't use. And I'm sure the producers would back that up. I still speak to James, the producer, and the narrator. But at the time, I sent them back a message saying, nice job. I think you've done a fair, balanced thing there. The only thing I didn't like is that they only used a couple of buzzwords when I said that it was a vehicle for everyone to jump on to slaughter Jesse Slaughter. That's what they wanted. They wanted fucking sound bites. And they got them. But, you know, the point got across. They had to put in there, Malcolm says he's working against these kind of trolls, but readily admits he associates with them. That's the truth. Of course I associated with them online. How am I supposed to understand these people and counter them if I don't understand them?
But you wouldn't count them as friends?
Absolutely not. And they didn't count me as friends. Like, but there was an understanding that I wasn't going to grow up. Let me go back a little further and give you just a little bit more.
I think you just nearly said something. Then there was an understanding that you weren't going to grasp. So
use their names, but I only had their Facebook names. I only had their Facebook names, like Tyler Durden or oh God, I should have pulled up the video. I've got a video with all their profiles on it, so I can keep track of it in my mind from 2013. But they all.
What are you saying, that you were observing these people? You'd infiltrated these people, got into the circles of these people, that they knew you, but you weren't going to grass on them.
I didn't infiltrate them. I asked them if I could come and understand what the fuck it is that makes them tick.
Right.
I didn't infiltrate them. I didn't go in there covertly. I went in with my hands up.
You were in their circle.
I had a Facebook group with 5,000 anti-bullying things on it, and I went to them as the creator and founder of this Hands Across the Ocean Facebook anti-bullying group, and said, I come with my hands up wearing a white flag. I want to know why it is you do what you do. And what we ended up doing was, once they had gained my trust, and I in some ways had gained theirs, even though I still didn't know any fucking real names. I mean, nobody used their real names when they're trolling. Nobody. They all have fake accounts. So I don't really know, apart from on their Skypes, and even their Skypes had the same names. But the point being is, at the right time, we started introducing families of the people that died, that these people trolled their RIP pages, because there's a difference between being an internet troll and an RIP troll. An internet troll, I can troll you all night on a subject on Facebook. You know, I can really upset you and rage you up just with a few comments. But that's not criminal. But what really is criminal is when you go doing it and harming someone's grief in such a way that you're posting up pictures of a tank engine, like where a girl's committed suicide by being run over by a train with "lol, you're dead." Well, that's not really fucking intelligent, is it? You don't have to be intelligent to do that, and most of them weren't. But I did find that a select handful of them were extremely intelligent people, and I believe those to be the psychopaths and narcissists. Right. But then when we talk about psychopaths and narcissists, half of the names you read on that list of unsubstantiated codswallop the other day, they're all psychopaths and narcissists. And when
I'm completely honest. What I want to do is, how did you get? What was the results? I know you wanted to understand these people. Did you get any results? Did you get any understanding as to the motivations of these people?
No. What we did get after a couple of these restorative justice meetings is a distinct drop in the attacks on tribute pages. Yeah, we got a lot of people to think about the pain and the suffering they were causing, and it did drop. And if I still had the screenshots now, you know, you're talking 10 years ago, but if I still had the screenshots now, there were still people saying, do you know what? There's been a remarkable drop in the shit happening on our page, because it's all about making it personal. So when they're meeting the parents of someone who's just recently deceased, they're not meeting them over a table like criminals. They're meeting them online, but they've been given the parameter that, like, you know, they've come in to listen. So yeah, in a way, it's a bit like me getting suckered onto Panorama. Well, we suckered them into meetings with the parents that suddenly a lot of them turned around and went, do you know what? This isn't for me. I can be an intelligent troll. I can go and troll people on politics. I don't have to be a cunt. Like, and it did make a difference. Yeah, I believe it made a difference. And I saw evidence of that difference at the time. But as I say, from the moment that occurred, all it needed was this one geezer's perception. Now, this one geezer that's on about it, and it was his perception of what he saw that he put into the book. But the thing is with his perception of what he saw that he put in his book, it suddenly becomes like, you know, it don't matter what anyone says, oh, it's in a book, it must be true. But what people don't understand is that same group, right, back then in those days were massing groups of lonely housewives to sit at home and report child abuse images, right? That's what their job was. And a lot of people took up this role. So you had groups with thousands of people in it, all spending all day reporting and passing on to the people at the top child abuse images. Now, first of all, they were actually trafficking those images, right? They weren't just reporting them. And second of all, to join that group, every one of those lonely housewives had to provide a scanned document that could be used as Facebook proof for them to be able to join the group. Now, do you not see something a bit dodgy in there? All of a sudden, one or two people at the top of the tree have now got 5,000 scanned images of other people's documents that they can now go and create fake profiles with. And then they block the person that they got the details from, and away you go. It was a massive, massive fraud. And again, when that came out, all the smearing starts. And I don't care what anyone says. Whenever I reveal something that the public need to know, the same trolls come out with the same smears in the hope to shout me down. They call me an FBI or a police informer. You know, they say that, you know, I'm an internet troll, I'm a rapist, you name it, I've had it, right? But the thing is, I don't actually give a flying fuck because I don't care about these activists. I don't care what they think. I do care what the public thinks. And the public, when it has, and this is specifically why I go and visit many, many, many of my friends, is to make sure that they go and research what I'm saying so they can turn around and go, yeah, it's bad jacketing. And the idea of bad jacketing is to create suspicion through the spreading of rumours and manufacture of evidence. Well, there is no evidence. Show me one fucking criminal conviction where I'm guilty of any of the things they say. There isn't one. And if there, do you not think that if there was evidence and the opportunity for the establishment and the Zionist-controlled government that we got here to shut me up, they would not have followed that up through by now? Because at the moment, you know, they're scratching around for stuff to do me for. But they've shadow banned me on Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter, everywhere. I'm shadow banned. They don't want me talking. Just like whatever was in that video we did last week, somebody don't want it out there, and it's got fuck all to do with what I'm supposed to be. We touched on.
I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up. We've had the video that from last week. I didn't delete it. What I did is I made it private so that people can't watch it. But I'm going to make it public again, simply because Anne-Marie Carey, who came out with some nonsense, then started having a go at us. And I'm not a vindictive person. I don't care. You know, she can talk about me and this and all she wants. But what she wanted is she wanted to distance herself from you and that interview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it public again sometime next week, and then she can try and get it removed through court and stuff like that. And
I'll be honest, I've never seen it. I've not even seen it myself, Jay. I didn't even get to watch that video back myself. So I still don't know, because again, it was a very impromptu interview, wasn't it? We didn't script any of that. It wasn't sat down and this is how we're going to go and this is where we're going to talk about. I don't even remember what I said. But I am absolutely convinced that there must be something in that video that really did scare the shit out of someone, because to try and take it down on some spurious allegation that's got no substantiation to it whatsoever from fucking 10 years ago, right, which has been addressed on my wall 4 times that I can think of. Brenda McNamara, Bill Maloney, John Wedger, Julian Coulter. All four of them, when I've exposed them, out comes this shit. And it's always the same people levelling it up. But that's why I'd like to get on to gang stalking, because I'm a sort of guy that, yeah, I make loads of friends through life, but on the occasion that I have to do an expose, and I want to make quite clear, the night before I put an expose up, I'm in front of the fucking screen like this. Do I? Don't I? And I'm biting my nails and I'm like, should I? Shouldn't I? And then I go, yeah, no, it's got to go up. And
yeah,
I know
that's a little bit like whether I should do this show or not. That would mean, honestly.
Yeah, I fucking agree with you, because you sit there and you think, do I do this or not? But the answer is, I work with the public, and I think if it needs to be in the public domain, I will take the shit that comes so as my public support doesn't. But they can watch, and that's the beauty of them. They're not fucking stupid. My supporters, my friends and the public, they watch every time. Every time the same shit comes up and they go, do you know what? They definitely don't want Joe to be heard. They don't want him to be heard. I'm shadow banned everywhere. I'm happy with the way things are. I don't hold anything against Anne-Marie. I just think at the end of the day, for someone who has faced so many smears herself and some character assassination and been told that she's a 5G denier, she was very quick to jump on the bandwagon of believing shit posts about me from 10 years ago. And in fact, she didn't even bother. I held her in that high regard. I even said in my post, I was so amazed at the amount of shit she's taken. I'm happy to go on a show with her. But she didn't even come to me with a message and say, I've heard this about you. Have you got something you want to tell me? She blocked me and then went into a tirade and then blocked everyone who came in and said, hold on a minute, you should really have a word with Joe, because this is old hat. It's been in the news 4 times in the last 10 years, and each time the same result is there. Take it to the authorities if you think you've got something, because if you look in all of that bullshit, it says associates of Mr. Blackman trolled these people. Associates. Because I said in Panorama that I associated with them, like when I was referring to research.
In much the same way that a prison officer associates with criminals.
Yeah, I'm their lead. No, they're even saying I'm the leader. I'm the controller. But what I did do back then, and again, is I did create a Facebook page called The Corporation for, troll accounts to come on, because what I was doing at that time, and again, Mike Lonston and all these trolls, they weren't privy to any of this. I was watching how the technique worked when they lost an account, because they did lose accounts, one after the other, how they came back and how they spawned quickly. In other words, they would come back with their troll profile name and all of their friends would instantly add them. It was like the Borg, but I wouldn't know any of this without taking the time to have set the stage and researched it. And to be honest, our stuff did make sense at the time. And if you look at the way that Facebook has now improved its reporting and safeguarding, I think we did a good job of fucking showing that there was a better way than just sitting in your house all day, reporting fake profiles and forwarding child abuse images to people that you think you know that actually turn out to be pedos themselves. So, there's a lot to it.
I do apologise for that. I've just knocked me sent off for some reason. I don't know how.
I just you fucking gone.
I don't know what we're doing. I was fucking about. I was getting a record set up for the album. It disappeared, and I've had to put it back on again. But listen, everyone, you're listening to Raconteurs News. It's Monday night. It's the 11th of February. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having okay. I know that a lot of you don't appreciate or agree with my guest this evening, but I've got him on here, and I've given him the right to reply, much in the same way that I gave Anne-Marie Carey as well, because if people had been saying, people were saying things about Anne-Marie Carey, we gave her a right to reply. We've got Joe Public here with us. And he's having his right to reply tonight. Webby's not with us, unfortunately, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. And I hope everything's okay with you, Webby. And hello to everybody who's in the chat room as well. Let me have a quick look who's in the chat room. Oh, I seem to have lost it. Here we go. There we go. The chat room. Hello to Uni Blackstar over there. Taylor, obviously, over in the United States. Society of the Spectacle. Webeto Webby's in there, so he's listening tonight. LJH, I don't know what that one is. Have you gone down the chippy? Someone said. John Smith, Society of the Spare. Harry Cookie Monster. Don't click the wrong button, Jason. Now, I'll try not to. Amanda Jane. Hi all. Hi, Amanda Jane as well. We're at 8 o'clock. So sorry, are we at 8 o'clock? Yeah, 8 o'clock. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a musical interlude. I'm just going to put you on mute for a moment. We've got Joe Public. I'm really glad we've been able to do this, because I think that it would have been unfinished business if we'd have just left it last week. And I'm really seriously contemplating putting last week's episode back online, because Anne-Marie wanted it removing, and I removed it because that's what you do. You know, one of your guests says they want the show removing, so you remove the show, and then they start dissing you and calling you names and stuff. And to be fair, I don't really give a fuck. I've fucking got one leg. I don't give a fuck.
I never dissed you.
No, you never did. No. Which is why I've got you back on, mate. This is why I've got you back on. Listen, it's truly revealing. We'll be back for another hour. I'm just going to play one record, and then we'll be back with Joe Public, and we'll be doing
gang stalking.
Gang stalking. We'll start on gang stalking and your experiences of that. All right, it's I'm going to play 1 in 10. It's Heath West. It is. Please, Joe, because I seem to have fucking problems doing it. Here we go. 1 in 10. We'll be back in 3 minutes and 39 seconds.
I am a 1 in 10, another on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. The dole-king malnutrition dulls my hair. My eyes are black and lifeless with an unprivileged stare. I'm the beggar on the corner, will no one spare a dime. I'm the child that never learned to read, cause no one spared the time. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. The victim, I'm a licensed to a gun. I'm a sad, bruised old lady in an alley or in a slum. I'm a middle-aged businessman with chronic heart disease. I'm another teenage suicide in a street that has no trees. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. Starving third world mother, refugee without a home. I'm a housewife hooked on Valley, I'm a pensioner alone. I'm a cancer-ridden specter, discovering the earth. I'm another hungry baby, I'm an accident at birth. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News on this Monday evening. We've got Joe Public with us tonight, and we're going to get into all sorts of different things. Let me just tell you what's going on this week. Webby being off, I don't know about tomorrow night. I think I might do tomorrow night. I've not got a guest lined up, but I know that there are people perhaps that aren't familiar. I know I've mentioned it before, but I want to talk about the Beckham story that brought me to an awakening. So I might we'll do that, something like that tomorrow night. But we've got a guest on Wednesday night. Is SMQ_AI, and he believes he's got a theory that we all died in 2012, and the Mandela effect is all in our heads, and we all died in 2012. So that's going to be interesting on Wednesday night. I'm going to be doing that Wednesday night. Tomorrow night we'll be doing something. What it is, I don't know. It's probably going to be me talking about when me and David Beckham crossed paths. So that may be it, but it's an interesting story anyway. But back to tonight, and we've got Joe Public with us. He is answering. I just wanted to mention, Joe. First of all, one of the things that struck me about last week's show is that when I gave, firstly, there was an accusation that I'd given you more time, that you'd been overtaking the time and everything. And I did explain to you when somebody said that, I explained to you that I did probably give you a little bit more time, but that's because it was the first time you've been on, and Anne-Marie had been on twice before. And so you probably did get a little bit more time, but there wasn't very much in it. Now, what I wanted to bring up was, what struck me when I listened back to it, because I listened back and I thought, why does she want me to remove this? You know, is it simply because of Joe Public, or is it something that said? So I listened back, and what struck me was, and what was quite ironic, is that she was saying that people should grow up, and yet as soon as she sees one post about yourself, suddenly I've got to pull the program. You know, I've got to pull the video and everything. So, you know, I don't know what your thoughts are about that, Joe.
Mate, someone was in her ear. Like, there's nothing to do with this supposed history to me. Again, as I say, it's all disprovable. And to be honest, if it separates the wheat from the chaff, if she can't be bothered to inquire after what she's been sent to me, you know, because anyone that sends me a Facebook message, I go into great detail with them, because they'll ask me, and I think it's absolutely appropriate for people to come and ask me, look, Joe, I've got concerns about this. I've read this about you. is any of it true? And then I will literally do, I mean, I've done this fucking story a few times over a dinner table. Never done it on a radio before, but the only reason I'm doing it now is because that was a prime example of what exactly they're trying to do. Whatever we said in that show, they didn't want up there, and the best way to undermine it, they knew they couldn't undermine me and get it taken down. They knew they couldn't undermine you directly and get it taken down. They've had to go to her. No, and like I say, for a woman that has been smeared herself and called a 5G denier and absolutely had an online hating presence, you would have thought if she was on the up and up that she would have looked at that and gone, well, I wonder if there's any truth to this. But she didn't. She immediately used it as a weapon to take down the video. And that's the point. It wasn't a weapon to take down me, although she did have a bit of a rant on her page after she blocked me. The goal was to take down your video. It wasn't to, because she could have turned around and said, I didn't know this guy was rah, 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 but the video is pretty good. She could have turned around and said, actually, do you know what? That's still a really good broadcast. I'm going to look into this with Joe and see if it's true. But it was such a knee-jerk reaction that I say someone's pulling her strings. I mean, I don't know. Up until I didn't even know I'd been blocked and was being slagged off. But the moment I did, I went, oh, what a shame. Because there's me saying and accepting her friend request, looking into her history and going, gosh, she's gone through the mill. They've given her a right turning over. They even said to her, right, let's clear it up on this thread, the one that's still, the big steel one that we were talking about. Are you a 5G denier? The 5G denier, Anne? No, I'm not. It's a very dangerous. Well, that clears that fucking up then. And that was me when she said, oh, well, she's a 5G denier. I said, well, I'll ask her. And I asked her on the thread, and I got what I consider was a straight answer. So why could she not afford me that? And I've got to be honest and say I don't give a flying fuck at a rolling donut, because I'm not really out there to endorse, help, support, promote, or otherwise bolster activists. Most of them are on the tape. Most of them are in NGOs. Most of them are getting salary or kickback. I work for the public, and I ain't got a lot of money. You know,
I do this for people, for people to be able to hear. Do you know, we've had people on this show that I've really not got on with. I've had arguments with. There's certain shows out there that people can go back and watch the John Irwin one for a start. You know, I'm not here. Not here to cushion someone's ego, right? Yeah. I want the truth, and do you know what I want? I want the people that don't get a voice. I want the people who are accused of certain things and will look at and will yeah. You know, people will look at just for me. I'll be honest with you. For me, I got sent quite a few people sent me the same blog post. I'm not going to mention it. I don't think it needs. I don't think it warrants being mentioned. But I read through it, and I thought at the end, well, you know, this is most of this can be made up.
Yeah, you know? Unsubstantiated. Yeah, it's all bollocks, basically.
Unsubstantiated nonsense, right? Which is why I've taken a ton of flack from people, because I've invited you back on, but we have got this reputation here at Raconteurs News. Well, I hope it's a reputation that if there's somebody who does something, we will get them on. We will ask them about it. We won't just sneak around and snigger and point and accuse people of things. So I like to get other people's perspective, and I usually find as well that the people whose perspective is hidden, or it's behind some of this, you know, it's trying to be disguised by all this fucking nonsense that goes on. I usually find people.
It's muddying the waters. That's the idea. Is, of course, with any kind of bad jacketing, it's to have people walk away from you. It's to have people. The idea of bad jacketing is to alienate you. Now, I've seen it in several of the protests and movements I've been involved in, and I've watched who's done it, and it's the same MO every time. They whisper in people's ears. They spread a story. They tell people that you're not trustworthy. And after a while, it builds into a little crescendo, and all of a sudden you're isolated and everyone wants you off the camp. You've been bad jacketed. Like, you didn't do nothing wrong, but somebody doesn't want you there. And that's because you're doing something good and it's not in their fucking narrative or part of their agenda. And I have seen it with Crane. I've seen it with Bill Maloney. I've seen it with Wedger. Honestly, and that's why they want to shut us down. Like, it's not that they want to, like, they really want this thing that they're chucking up about me to be true. It's a distraction long enough for them to say, well, look what the internet says about him. The internet, it's on the internet, so it must be fucking true, Jay. You know, anyone can write a blog. I can write a blog tomorrow, and I'll have you know that the Gail Fawkes page that you're talking about was taken down for hate speech, and the Gail Fawkes persona, which is Wendy Barford, was questioned and interviewed and given an official warning under harassment and stalking laws. That's why I don't hear anything out of her anymore, because she can't do it. But what does she do? Every time I confront someone and bring something up about someone I think is dodgy, all of a sudden, people are being handed this dossier. And the dossier is full of shit. But I don't really mind, because all my friends know it's full of shit. And I know it's full of shit. So when they go, oh, this again, Joe? And I'm like, yeah, sorry, every time I expose something. And don't think for 1 minute I spend all my life exposing scumbags. It's one of the things I hate doing, because I get this shit. I spend more of my time dog sitting for people for nothing, or digging over old ladies' gardens. Nobody ever talks about the good stuff that I do. Yeah. And I make sure that I don't charge anyone for any of the services that I give. I don't raise GoFundMe pages. All I say is to those close to me, if I'm on my arse and I put up a little post saying I'm on my arse, chuck us a few bob. And you know what? There's just enough of them out there to do that for me. So I'm not a corporate. I'm not like Corporation David Icke. You know, I'm just me, average Joe Public. And I have no choice. When someone's screwing the public, I have no choice but to say so. Otherwise, I'm failing in my duty to the public. Like I said on the show last week, the public kept me out of jail, man. They own my ass. I work for them and no one else. So when I say shit, it's not because I don't like someone. I mean, I haven't slagged off this Anne-Marie woman. In fact, I've only known her a fucking week. I only added her for about 2 days, and she seemed a very nice person. I empathised with where she was coming from. But all of a sudden, she's turned into a whirling dervish, and the reasoning isn't there. If she was such a persecuted, targeted individual, why would she react in such a way? Like, because I wouldn't, and I'm a targeted individual. Trust me, I am targeted on every level. But the one level they can't co-intel, that public level. I'm part of the biggest gang in the world, and it's, well, the biggest gang in the country, and it's the British public. And they trust me. I trust myself to do a good job for them. I don't ask for anything. At best, I'll ask for a megabus ticket to get to a demo, you know, and maybe a cup of coffee when I'm filming outside Julian Assange's. But well, you tell me, what's going on with all this?
Well, what I was wondering is what the secret messages on the whiteboard behind you mean.
Well, I think you can see them. I'll tell you what, we'll go and have a look. Right, because I haven't changed it, and unfortunately, these will be backwards because I'm using the selfie screen.
It's not backwards. I could see it okay. It's all right.
This says download. This is where the lady of the house who lives here, I'm pet sitting for, by the way. This isn't my house. So for those of you that thought that I'm a critical thinker, although I am, it's not my whiteboard. And there's a few things about child sexual abuse, social media, a BBC meeting, you know, rubbish to move. I don't know if you can see that one. Rubbish to move, sort garden, enroll on social work, community organiser, buy a new kettle. Not too sure about those last one. Front door, keys cut. Oh, that job, that's done because I went and got the keys the other day. So she'll be grateful that I've wiped these off. Yeah, I was going to write a few covert messages on there for NSA, you know, Snowden and Julian Assange. But then I did realise that they'll be backwards, and most of the thick cunts out there that thought that that was something to do with why would a member of the public have a whiteboard would realise that that was really, really daft. I mean, it's not even my house. It's not even my house. I'm house sitting. I double up as a housekeeper, and my main role here is to look after the house pets while the lady of the house is away. She pops back. I deal with the day-to-day bits and pieces. So, but I just want to make that clear. It's not my house. I can't own a house. In fact, I don't know if you're aware, but I was made bankrupt by Raffling Energy up at West Newton fracking site. To the tune of 50 grand. Like, not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people give a fuck. They're all happy to know that Ian R. Crane's been fucking bankrupted and is being chased through the fucking courts for money, which I still haven't seen him bankrupted for. But
well, mentioning Ian Crane, right? Okay, we're mentioning Ian Crane. We've had Ian Crane on this show. Webby very kindly got Ian Crane on this show. I've always been suspicious of Ian Crane since he told everyone that there were going to be an alien invasion at the Olympics in 2012. Before that,
years ago, mate. That was before the Gulf oil spill. You're going back years. That's true.
Yeah. And the Gulf, the oil spilling the Gulf. Now, the funny thing is with that, Joe, and I don't want you to think that I'm some sort of agent or something.
Oh,
no. But my cousin, my maternal cousin, was the head of the Gulf of Mexico at the time of for BP. At the time of the Gulf of Mexico oil spill in that was about 2010, weren't it? That
I think it was. Well, it was definitely 2011 when they were all talking about it. So yeah, 2010 was when the incident happened. 2011 was when Crane and Deborah Dupre started getting involved, and people started generating. Hold on, who the fuck are these people? Why are they undermining our movement? You know,
but all this environment, all this damage that was supposed to be caused by the spill in the Gulf of Mexico, it's just never transpired. It's similar to Fukushima.
Yeah, I wondered about Fukushima. How comes the entire fucking northern hemisphere isn't completely toxic by now?
Yeah, all these different things that you know, that these people have been promoting, that it's the death, it's the end of civilization, Armageddon. It might not be Armageddon, but it might be a Geddon of some kind that's going to end something. Yeah. You know, this is all these soothsayers have been there, and they keep getting more and more publicity and more particularly in the independent media, and yet you and I'm going to speak as I see it. I don't give a fuck, really.
I'd be fucking pissed off if you didn't.
I couldn't give a fuck, but you get people like you who've something from 10 years ago is being thrown in your face, every pair of plates, and then you get people that also claim to be victims of the same thing, and then they distance themselves from you simply because they were on the same radio broadcast. Pisses me off. Fucking pisses me off, Anne-Marie.
Well, but you see, It hasn't done me any harm. Do you not? That's the beauty. This is why I don't have fucking acid indigestion. And this is why I don't have stress issues. Because it's not done me any harm. It's just proved to me that there's someone else that I cannot invest my time in or promote or sanction. Why? Because she took me at the value of some fucking shite piece of shit posting without even bothering. Now, I can forgive a member of the public for doing that and coming at me in Facebook Messenger. Oh, I didn't know you was this kind of fucking, you super troll, you fucking did all these children. I'd be like, I can forgive that because I can say, well, hold on, let me see what you got. And then we'll break it down and put it into perspective for you so you understand. The public can make that mistake. She's supposed to be a fucking professional, an activist, a campaigner, someone who knows her shit. Well, that hasn't worked out, has it, really? Because if she...
I don't think... Listen, there's no... For me, there's no discrepancy. She knows her shit, right? She came on our show. We gave her a platform because somebody had called her names and done all this, right? She knows her shit. She completely knows her shit. All that really bothers me is that she didn't. You know, if I'd have been on a show with somebody that I disagreed with, I wouldn't say I want to pull that show because I don't agree with that person. You know, unless there's something on that show that was offensive, I wouldn't want it pulled. And yet she wanted it pulled simply because of some nonsense. I'm saying nonsense, but it's something that could be nonsense that's been written on the internet. That was my problem. I've got no problem with her. She's got great information. She brought evidence with her.
She was fed it, Jace. She was fed that information. I'm not interested that she took it or swallowed it. I'm interested in who fed it to her. I have to think outside the box. I don't give a flying fuck about the information because it's old news that can be easily fucking... And when I start screaming about the fact that these guys were taking scanned images of people's personal documentation so as they could join groups, and then they were using those scanned documents to create fake profiles, there are thousands and thousands of fake profiles out there now involved in child abuse. And all those silly women that signed up and said, yeah, here's a scanned copy of my passport, and they had to give them to prove that they were real people to the people running the group. Well, guess what? The people running the groups were pedos. And they were saying, forward us these pictures that you've got. Because all these women would go around reporting them, and there'd be a link to all of them in these groups. And the pedos are sitting there looking and saying, oh, I'll have that one. Go and get me the image for that. Then the woman would then transfer it via Facebook to the other geezer. Unknowingly, she is now trafficking child porn images. But worse than that, they've cloned her account because she's stupid enough to have sent them a copy of her passport to prove that she's worthy to join their group. Once I start talking about that, all these Mike Lonstons, they go away because I know more about it. I've just never talked about it. It's such a dark time, but that was 2010. It's 2019 now, and there are a lot more safeguards on Facebook. I'm not saying it's brilliant, and I, for one, am saying, you know, if it wasn't for the huge commitment that I have to the public on Facebook, I'd have deactivated my account years ago, right? It's nothing but a CIA tool. But having said that, knowing that I'm shadow banned on every platform and my pages, when I first launched the Joe Public Says No page, it was pulling down 250,000 reach a week, and within 5 days it was down to 6,000, and that's it. I don't trust the algorithms on Facebook, but I trust the people, and that is because I spend the time to go and meet them and work with them and help them in any way I can, even if it's just giving them a little bit of powder to wash into their clothes so that their kids don't have nosebleeds and ear bleeds from Wi-Fi radiation anymore. You know, I mean, it is a dangerous thing, that 5G. I've never been a 5G denier, And I never got a chance to say this on the last interview we did, but there are symptoms. If you're really, really keenly receptive to Wi-Fi radiation, you can get migraines, nosebleeds, ear bleeds, and all stuff like that. Yeah, it's very true. But you've got to be really, really acutely perceptive to it. Now, I have a friend that is probably in the chat room tonight, and I found out that her son was autistic. He's 12 years old. He's autistic. He has a deformity and disability that makes his head a bit large, and he's got a growth on his head and stuff like that. And because of the way he is, he can't do daylight, he can't go out, the curtains have to be drawn all the time. When I heard about this story, we washed some of this compound that I've been giving away, that costs a fucking bomb, been giving away, into his hoodie. And it's one of them hoodies, because he has a bit of an issue with his own looks, that hangs right over. You can't even see his eyes. Since washing this kid's hoodie, right, before washing it, he had migraines, terrible migraines, bleeding from the ears and bleeding from the nose. Since washing this kiddie's 5G resistant powder, no migraines, no bleeding in the ears, no bleeding of the nose. Yeah. And so each month I try to put a little bit aside for her, make sure I can send it down so her boy doesn't have to worry about, because she did a little testimonial about it. I've got it somewhere on Facebook. And she said that the quality of life has completely changed. Now, I'm spending all my time trying to combat 5G, not protest against it or raise fucking money to fight it in the courts. My job is to find a way for you and your family to protect yourself from the dangers of 5G. And it is a dangerous weapon. The military version, the access denial system, they call it. And it's now called the Pentagon crowd control system. It works at 90 gigahertz. It makes your skin feel like it's burning. You have to run away. Yeah. Well, the stuff that I'm giving to people, or with people that want more, I give it to them at cost. I don't make money out of misery. This stuff will protect you up to 120 gigahertz. And that's way above any of the 5G rollout for the next 5 years. So you can protect yourself. I'm going around telling people this, but where's your 5G campaigners saying, actually, do you know what? He's not making any money out of this. You should have a look at this. They're only interested in their own agendas. You know, now, I mean, I know for a fact that Mark Steele's court case is back on the 28th. Yeah, I've been in touch with the courts. I'm keeping a track of it. I'm going to go down there. This whole thing's a fucking fallacy. He's now done an update on his GoFundMe page saying that this money's to pay for his legal team. Well, I stand by what I said in the original thingy. If he's going up against the criminal conviction, which he's already facing, then it's frivolous and he's just wasting the public's money. He should have just said, give us 700 quid to pay the fine and I'll keep my head down. But he didn't. Now he's appealing something that is guaranteed not to win. So he'll get hit with 50 grand's worth of costs from the council, right? And he'll be coming back saying, "Oh, I need to get 50 grand," right? And people will be giving it in, right? And the other thing I noticed about his page is funny how if you look down the list of donors, there's quite a few anonymous donors, all at 100 quid. Yeah, if you take all them 100 quid ones out, anonymous, and they're regular, but it's almost like someone's putting them in to encourage people to give more. Because if you look at most of them, they're 6 quid, 5 quid, 9 quid, you know, and every now and then there's more than every now and then, there's an anonymous one, 100 quid. So I don't even believe the target's anywhere genuinely near where it should be. But I've had enough. And honestly, with regard to him, I think, I said it the other day, I know he's a fucking scammer. I know he's up to no good. The public now know it's up to them what they do with that information. I don't need to pursue him. Like there have been a few in my time where I've had to pursue Julian Coulter and John Wedger because he's an ex-fucking filth and he's a wrong and right through and through. Like, so I like to keep on top of that and make sure that stays alive. But and Carey, Mark Steele, I've told the public, it's up to them now. They can work out. The public aren't stupid. You know, they're not stupid. They've seen the gang stalking. They've seen Gail Fawkes. They've seen Emma Ray. They've seen all these people come out, especially when I was defending a child abuse victim who wanted a platform on my Facebook. They all come out of nowhere and started trying to destroy me for giving her a platform. And then when they couldn't do that, they started destroying her. And for Brenda McNamara, and this is a corker, I'll never forget it, but for Brenda McNamara to come out and say on a Facebook thread to me about a child abuse survivor, let Katie fight her own battles, right? That was when I knew I was dealing with a fucktard, because here she is, the campaign manager for this massive anti-child abuse group, and I've given a child abuse survivor a platform, and then when everyone's come out attacking her and I've stepped in, she's like, let Katie defend herself. And it's like, well, that's not what you do with child abuse victims. You stand with them, you know, you don't. And you're right, it is a mob mentality. Going back to the start, that fucking mob mentality. Gang stalkers, if you can imagine how many people I must have pissed off over the years, and they're all, keyword, narcissists. They're all narcissists. And narcissists get together. They're like the Borg. They just join up, and if they all hate someone, they get together, and that's what you call gang stalking. And that's when they go out of their way to try and really mess with your lives. But I've got
you get narcissists on both. You know, people that would be against each other, and they sort of group together and attack.
Oh yeah.
Particularly, look. I really don't know what to make of you. I really don't know what to make of you. If I'm being honest, I don't know what to make. I don't believe the crap that I've been reading.
I'm glad about
shit. I think that you wanted to help people and helping people, I think, is genuine. But you know, there's just this inside me, just this one bit inside me that says, well, hang on a minute. And I suppose that's what everybody gets, but it's whether or not they can control that, whether they can like say, well, actually, I'm going to, because that's such a small percentage of what I'm thinking, I'm going to suppress that. And, you know, I just, you know, I want to be true to myself, which is why I'm saying this to you now. I don't know what to make of you. I don't think you're a bad person, right? I don't, and I really wanted to get you on because I'm really fucking sick of, what I'm really sick of is like somebody's going to do something and then there's a big outcry, which compared to normally when we're going to do a show, there's been a big outcry about this.
About fucking figures
again, and so when there's a big outcry, I don't like that. I hate that. I think that's ganging up on somebody. If you know, I think tonight I've asked you pertinent questions about what has gone on. I probably haven't asked the questions that people would want me to ask. You know, some people might want me to ask, but I've asked you pertinent questions, and then I've not given you a free ride about this. So, you know, for me, the gang stalking is a bigger crime than anything. The gang stalking and the mob mentality, and being drawn into that simply because you don't want to lose how people perceive you. Mm-hmm. So you get drawn into some fucking, what do you call it? Some movement or some thinking, group think. That's what they call it, innit, in 1984. You get drawn into this group think, and you think, right, and then we get like Anne-Marie Carey, and I understand if that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. That's up to her. It's her choice. Yeah. But it was virtue signaling. It was almost as if she was trying to distance herself, in other words, to appease other people rather than to for any personal reason. And the personal reason I went back on the show was because I didn't want to be influenced by that group think. And people, believe me, I've had messages all day, Skype, Facebook Messenger, telling me I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do this. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And yes, I have seen these. And for me, the thing's written on the fucking internet, so I'm not going to you know, it's not even like I want to fight back and say, look, I'm doing. I just think that it's fair because I offered you a platform last week. You came on the platform, you made some really good, interesting points, and for what I think was a good show. And Anne-Marie Carey came on as well, made her own points, and it was a good show on the whole. And for me to delete that and to lose that from you, to lose that, you know, I thought that it was only fair that I allowed you, not that I allowed you, I invited you back on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I mean, and it was the right thing to do. Take it down because of the shitstorm that you were getting, like, but have a think about it. And if you know, if I believe it's right to have that video up, because that video's got nothing to do with me. When we had a conversation before I went on, and I said, I really don't want this show to be about me, because if we make it about me, nothing will get addressed. And those were the exact words. And I'm right. And I already knew that there was going to be a shitstorm coming afterwards, but I couldn't very well. No, I couldn't. Think about it. If I had told you that, you would have still do it. I'm a drama queen. And then when it had happened, you'd have been like fucking climbing the walls. But it happens every time. And it's only because it's the same people giving out the disinfo every time I hit the airwaves. They want me shut down, but you tell me what the reason is, because I don't seem to do any wrong. I'm not a bad person. Like I say, I dog sit for people for nothing. I do like community work with the homeless. Every winter I'm out with stuff that the public send me to give out. I'm not a one-man fucking band here. I only operate because I have the support of the public. So every winter I get a shitload of blankets sent me, socks, fucking clothes, and I go out and physically hand them out. Now, in the first couple of years, I used to do videos of that, and they're on my Facebook wall. If you look under Facebook videos, they are there. And they're a bit grainy because they're done with a little covert camera, and they're normally done just for my own benefit of security. But after a couple of years of doing them, I stopped doing them because people used to say, well, you're only filming because you're trying to make a thing for your ego. Whereas, in fact, I was filming to show people that you can go out there and make a little difference. If you've got a little covert camera on, you can go out and you can hand out stuff, and you're just another face in the crowd. And the homeless are always grateful. Then on top of that, you know, you got all the little bits and bobs that I end up doing. It allows me to meet people, and those people I'm quite happy, because every year they invite me back. Joe, can you look after my dog again this year? Joe, can you look after my cat? Joe, can you come and give me a hand to do them spuds again? I've got a lovely old lady that's got Crohn's disease, and the only way that her life is improved is by her summer garden, but she can't actually dig her garden over. So I spend 2 weeks and go up there and I prepare her garden so she can kneel on the ground and plant her fucking plants. But people don't hear that. All they hear is something from 2010 that's got absolutely no credibility whatsoever. You tell me if that's not bad jacketing and gang stalking. Of course it is. But I'm not bothered, because the people that I represent love me, and I love them to death. They will look after me. They kept me out of jail once, and I did promise to them I would never put myself in a position where they have to bail me out again. But you look at people like Mark Steele, and they're chucking GoFundMe pages up, willing to draw all the money under the sun to pay for a frivolous fucking court action that's going to end up with a council getting 50 grand. No, public are going to end up giving council 50 grand. Like, it's, you know, if I've often said you can judge a measure of a man of whether he has a GoFundMe page or not. Because now people calling it Go Fraud Me. Did you know that? The term for GoFundMe now is like Go Fraud Me, because every fucker on there is out to fleece a few quid off the public. I'm probably...
Listen, you're listening to Raconteurs News with me, Jason Holmes. I've got Joe Public as my guest this evening. Don't forget, you can make a donation on our GoFundMe page. It's called GoFundMe.com/fucking-sucker or whatever. No GoFundMe page here. I'll tell you what, there are going to be changes very soon. This coming week, in fact, raconteursnews.com is going to be going directly to the forum. I'm going to be pushing the forum a little bit more as well. So we're going to be putting some money in into what's going on here at Raconteurs News and making it a little bit better. And don't forget as well, if you're watching on YouTube or on the Google Hangout, then to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever you want. It doesn't matter to us as long as you're getting involved with us tonight. Anyway, Joe, listen, we've got about 15 minutes left. What's going forward? What's your plans? Alrighty then. I think he's gone. I think he's disappeared. He's stopped. I wonder if it's me that stopped or him. I'll find out. Oh, it's me that stopped. Oh no, it's not me that stopped. I'm still on. I don't know if I've stopped or whatever. Joe, are you still there, mate? Can you hear me? No, he don't. Let me just slack off there. Oh, there we go. I think I've just. What's happened is Joe has lost his battery on his phone. I hope everyone still can watch, can see this. Let me just have a quick look just to make sure everyone can see this. It's Raconteurs News. We have a Joe Public on tonight. I know it's been a bit controversial and it's been a bit. Everybody's sort of been having their own ideas of whether it should be happening or not, but I've done it. Oh, for fuck's sake! The fucking phone keeps going mad, and it's been going on. Oh God! Let me just find this. Raconteurs News. Fucking hell. Raconteurs News. You're listening to Raconteurs News. I hope you can hear me still. Well, I actually hope you can't, because then that will mean that it's ended and I'm not doing any of this. Yeah, we've had Joe Public on. It's the second time. I had him on last week, and he the show had to be pulled. I think I'm going to be bringing that show back online quite soon, simply because of the people that. Oh, I'm still on. Yay! Hey, thank you to everybody. Silent air is not good air. Thank you, Web Auto. I'll bear that in mind. Sassy, yes, we can see you. Thank you. Click on the cog at the top right. It says Webby again. Yes, okay. Aren't you supposed to be fucking like having a day off or something? Super Leeds is in there as well. He'd have a come for a beer. I think Heath is in the chat room, Heath is trying to get me to, he's trying to get us all together to have a bit of a beer or something, and he's invited Super Leeds. Ron Malcolm, yes, we can. I don't know what that's in reference to. Matthew Caddy, good evening, Matthew Caddy, and we're Bato again. By gum, I tell you what, we're Bato. We're like really. We've just lost Joe Public. I don't know what you made of that. What did you make of that? I mean, what did you think of it? I mean, is it like I said to him? I was pretty open and honest with him, and I said to him, I really don't know what to make of you. I don't know what this stuff that were going on before. I don't know. What I do know is that I don't like to make an assumption about somebody based upon something that somebody else has written that's on the internet, which can be manipulated. We all know it can be manipulated in all sorts of ways, and I do like to try to keep. I do try to like to judge people by the way that they act or interact with me. You know, I listen. We've met some wankers on this show. John Irwin for a start. We've had some people on this show that perhaps I wouldn't want on again. But then again, there are other ways round as well. I mean, we had Mark Salon on, and I was really against having Mark Salon on. I thought that it was, I wasn't a big fan of his. But he came on and he changed my mind. So he changed. That's the way that it should be. It should be that you always keep an open mind, so that you don't look like a dickhead for a start. You don't look like a dickhead because you just don't like somebody simply because what you might have seen before, and that's all that we're trying to prove tonight by having John. And I know that there's a lot of people that will say, he did this and he did that and he did the other, and he's supported all this. But until you ask somebody, how many of those people really have ever spoken to him before, right? And that's what I wanted to do tonight. And I hope I didn't give him too easy a ride. I think particularly in the first hour, I hope that I gave him a good grilling. I questioned him on things, and I hopefully made him feel a little bit uncomfortable. But it's all about getting there. And if we don't talk about things, we're never going to get anything sorted. Talking about things, just what when Anne-Marie Carey, she sent me a message and said, I want you to delete the show. So I deleted the show. I didn't delete it. It's on private. I can reactivate it at any time. So Anne-Marie, if you want to keep calling us wankers and saying all this stuff, then fine. You carry on, and I'll just reactivate that, and you'll be associated with Joe Public. It's up to you. I really don't care. I'm associated with Joe Public. I'm associated with you. I thought you were a great guest. I thought you were great to be on the show. And but I'm really shocked that the last couple of minutes of the last show, you were talking about people growing up, and then you just go and do this just completely out of the blue, and then you start bringing down Raconteurs news as well, and said you won't be coming on the show again. Well, of course you won't be coming on the show again. And we're not going to have somebody on that don't like us, but we like to give everybody a chance. Everybody who has anything, as long as you're not Super Leeds and you're just going like, something like, oh, what do you think about stuff then? Sorry, Super Leeds, I love you. But you understand, we want people on this show. We want people who have a different opinion. I've got the Mandela Effect guy coming on Wednesday. And I'm not expecting everybody to agree with what he says, but it's just, it's just talking to other people, to people that have got different theories, because our own theories are all based in here. And to hear someone else's theories, it helps you grow as a human being, as an individual. It helps you to like go, well, actually, what this guy's saying, it's not that far out of scale of what's going on. And to be fair, I've not really got any other opposing view that is believable. I don't have another view. So, we're getting this guy on Wednesday night. It's going to be a couple of hours. Let's have a look what we're going on the chat room. I'm trying to wear down these last 8 minutes, because I am just. I don't usually do this at all. Let's have a look at Joe Public's battery died. There you go. It's gone in there. He's recharging now. Super Leeds is in there. Josh Lee Higgins, how you doing, Josh? He went to Chippy really. Apple Charlotte's trying to stir up some shit by saying he's calling you thicko Leeds. That he knows that isn't true. For God's sake, he's a Leeds supporter. What else is there to say? And he's a mate of mine, and I played Marching On Together on this show, especially for him, and I'm a Sheffield Wednesday supporter. So if anybody wants to accuse me of not liking Leeds, then they can nanas, they can bollocks, just like they can bollocks, just like Watson's sack. His sack is it's got no bollocks in it anymore. Apparently, Joe is trying to charge his phone up. He says it'll be 2 minutes. Patrick Nee, good evening, Patrick. How are you? I hope you're okay. We've got it's been quite a good show tonight. We've got, like I said, tomorrow night. I don't know what I'm going to do. I did invite Hairy Cookie Monster on, but I've not had a response yet. So it might be a conversation between myself and Hairy Cookie if he wants. But I did invite him. If you've not had my message, then have a look on Skype, Cookie, or somebody let him know. But I did invite him on for tomorrow night for just a bit of a chat, and then on Wednesday, of course, we've got the Mandela Effect guy. He has got I think his channel is called SMQ and then _AI, but it's all about the Mandela Effect and how we died in 2012. There's 11258 Stool. Oh, Stewie, sorry, Stool. There's quite a few Wednesday supporters in Mexborough, so there's a guy that knows the place. Here we go. We've got Joe back, I think. How you doing, Joe? All right, mate.
Really sorry, man. We were fucking about earlier with that whiteboard. I unplugged my phone from the charger to do it, and like a muppet, I didn't plug it back in. So I do apologise for the instant disappearance.
Listen, that's all right, mate. Listen, I've been honestly, you'd be so proud of me. I think it's like I think I've won a independent radio award for the way that I filled in for the time.
Well done.
Yeah.
Watch.
I run for his money, I'll tell you.
I was watching on my laptop at the time, like thinking, God, and I'm down to 5%, but I'm plugged in, so we should be all right for 2 minutes. So, but I appreciate everything you said earlier there. I was watching, and I did say in the chat room, I am here, I can hear you, and I think, bang on, mate. At the end of the day, you have to make up your own mind about people, and the only way you can do that is by doing it yourself. If you, I don't listen to anyone about. I mean, I didn't listen to anyone about Annie. I didn't think she was a 5G denier. I didn't think this. I didn't think that. I never, ever judge people before I've had a chance to talk to them. It's the way to go, isn't it?
And that's the disappointing thing for me. Really, is the way that Annie dealt with it, and it's something like a lot of virtue signaling that this guy. I know you probably have all read stuff that's bad about him. So what I want to do is I want to distance myself from him because of what you might think of me. And she was used to undermine me. She's just a pawn in the game. She reacted exactly how the people that fed her the information hoped that she would. But you, on the other hand, you haven't reacted the same way. You've gone, hold on a minute, and you've had the courtesy to have me back on your show.
like I say, I'm very proud of the last 10 years of my life. My life really changed at Occupy London. I've had it fucking tough since then, from the government, from the establishment, from haters, from all different activist movements that I've gone in and gone, oh, he's a bit dodgy. He's all this money. And after a while, you build up quite a anti-hate establishment. But the beauty of it is, like I say, people know that I get this shit and they like it because I take the shit and they don't. But they watch the reaction and they learn and they look at the names involved and they go, won't come. Like Claire Kennedy, radio show, Andy Peach's radio show. No one will touch her now because she really went to town on a child abuse survivor on my wall and everyone noticed. She didn't realise that my wall's like a spider's web anyway. If you come on there and you're really mean to people, the public will notice. So, but like I said to someone the other day, I've got skin thicker than a rhino's arse. I couldn't give a fuck what people say.
and that's exactly what that's exactly my strategy. I don't give a fuck. I really couldn't care less if somebody fucking posts this and says, "Oh, look at this company's talking to him and he did this." I couldn't give a fuck, right? I wanted to talk to you,
come and talk
which is why over the weekend, me and you have been communicating over the weekend, and I said to you, we need to have a chat, and that's the reason why we needed to have a chat, because I wanted to talk to you and to be able to communicate directly with you and not be just reading some shit that somebody's just written.
You said while I was offline on your, I was watching you on YouTube while I was trying to frantically reconnect. And you said, I hope I haven't given him too much of an easy ride. And you haven't. I mean, we could go into a much more detailed thing another day and just stick to very short parameters and you could get some seriously deep information. But you hit me with all the right questions. And that's why I don't know if you were in your, I missed what you said on YouTube about, like, I might be slagging off Raconteurs. I'm not. Not you. No. I've appreciated the right to reply. I think you've been a very genial host and you haven't been easy. Right at the start, we were talking all about, and we could go deeper into that any day you like. It's no different to the after dinner speaking I do at my friends' houses. I've had this conversation a million times, and that is why it doesn't work when these fucking idiots keep chucking it up, because everyone I've ever met says, oh yeah, we was talking about that over dinner. What a load of shite. And once you start showing them the fake screen caps to the real screen caps, that's when it all starts breaking down, because in the days of 2010, there were at least 13 fake Malcolm Brackman profiles, and they were saying and doing some horrible things. But I can show that they were fake. And it's all down to cropping. Like, you know, I mean, here's a good example, and people can go and research this, and a minute to go. If you look on a Facebook tribute page that I created at the time called a tribute page to Hands Across the Ocean, I left loads of screen caps there that actually show which ones were real and which ones weren't. Because when I was a kid, I used to love The Equalizer, that program. Yeah, Edward Woodward. I used to think it was great. And I used his profile picture. But I used it and I had such respect for him that I never cropped his head off, ever. It was always a perfect picture of him stood in front of the Jaguar. All the fake ones, you can see where they've just thrown the picture in and cropped it. So you could, if you really wanted to, and go on a mission, you could debunk the whole thing. But I've always said to people, don't bother. It's my shit. Leave it to me.
Nice one. Well, it's been absolutely, it's certainly been interesting. Yeah. It's been fascinating. It's been fascinating talking, and I don't think it's going to be the last one that we have. I really want to apologise to you, right, for having to delete last week's or remove it. because I didn't think that anything that was in that particular broadcast, you know, was offensive to anybody in any way, shape, or form. And you know, just simply because somebody's ego, we had to delete it. And
if you want to broadcast it,
well,
I'd be very happy. Like, I'd be happy if you broadcast it, but if you choose the lesser option of less grief, I don't mind that either. But remember, just take all the names of all the people that are telling you you shouldn't be doing it, and you're looking at a COINTELBand anyway. But
well, the ironic thing is that was removed on the request of a person that came on our show with a right to reply because somebody had made accusations against her, and she did a really good job of refuting those accusations. And now we're having to do we've had to do this again with yourself at her behest. Anyway, listen, it's 3 minutes past 9. We've gone over. Thanks very much to everybody for listening. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Don't forget, Cookie is got his show. He's on at the moment. I think he's on Airy Cookie Munster, and I did invite him to come on tomorrow's show. But you know, if not, then perhaps we'll talk about my deal with the Beckham thing, because I've never really I did talk about it a few times, but I've never really spoke about it in depth. So a big thank you to everybody. We're all thinking about you, Webby, as well. So I hope everything's good. Thank you very much, Joe Public, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Take it easy.
Thank you for having me on.